So, Mark, I've been seeing headlines about 50-year mortgages, but I've only heard about 15 and 30-year mortgages. That's all I've heard about. So it sounds like people are getting 20 more years to pay their mortgage. That sounds pretty good. Sounds like there are a lot of advantages to a 50-year mortgage, right?
Well, the 50-year mortgage has been in the news quite a bit lately, Devin. Now, one thing I will mention, there's no such thing as a 50-year mortgage right now, which is something that President Trump had mentioned last week in an interview trying to make homes more affordable. So there are definitely some pros and some big cons to a 50-year mortgage. If you look at just things that would be the pros, one, they would be a little bit easier to qualify for. So stretching out a loan for another 20 years from a 30-year mortgage is going to bring down the rate. It's also going to be make it easier for a buyer to qualify potentially, and it's really going to help potentially in some of these higher end markets, even some markets like us here in Columbus. It would bring down the mortgage payment a little bit.
Yep. So you get a cheaper mortgage. That sounds pretty good to me. Is there a catch to this, or?
There's a big catch. So banks are not stupid, Evan. So if you look at, like, let's say a 30-year mortgage and look at the amortization rate, or what percentage of your payment every month is actually going towards interest or going towards principal or buying down your rate. So let's use an example of, let's say I bought a house and my for easy numbers, my mortgage rate is $2,000 a month. So month one, when I make that $2,000 payment, about $1,800 of that payment goes towards interest, and 200 goes down to principal. And it's that way for like the first 5 years, because banks know that people will usually move within 5 years, and they try to want to make as much money as they can. And that payment only goes to about 50-50 at year like 15 or 16. So in the first 15 years, specifically the first like seven, you're paying a lot of money towards interest and not to buy down your principal. So now imagine stretching that loan out another 20 years for 50 years. You're paying very, very little money towards that actual loan and paying a lot in interest every month. So you're not really bringing down the actual loan amount much at all. That first in a 50-year loan, I haven't really looked at the numbers, but probably the first like 10 years.
So basically, you're not just getting a cheaper monthly payment, but you're also paying a lot more in total, and you're also building that equity,
Oh
which is
yeah.
why people one of the main reasons people buy homes is for equity, right? But they're getting less of that, or they're going to have to wait longer to build that equity, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. So I did a little bit of an analysis, and I wrote it here in our blog on our website. And I used the average sale house in Columbus, Ohio, right now is about $400,000. So that's what I used as an example. And if you start looking at the numbers, now remember, a 50-year mortgage is the rate's going to be a little bit higher than, let's say, a 30-year mortgage would be. That's just the way banking works, but it would bring down your payment. So I don't remember the numbers exactly, but you're really only saving a couple $100 a month going from a 30-year mortgage to a 50-year mortgage with today's rates. And the amount of principal that you're paying down was significantly less. I believe, like in the first 5 years, it was around $21,000 as opposed to like $7,000 or $8,000. I mean, significantly less. So that's the biggest downside of a 50-year mortgage, is that the bringing down that principal is going to take much, much longer.
I see. So you get higher rates, your equity builds slower. You're not going to get to the principal until several years later. There are a lot of costs to this, but again, you might save 100 or a couple $100 per month on the mortgage. So that begs the question: and do the benefits outweigh the cost with the 50-year mortgage?
Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. I think that it's actually a kind of a dangerous product. I mean, when you're stretching out a mortgage for 50 years, I mean, think about that. you could work your whole life and then go to retire and still be paying a mortgage. I mean, 50 years is a long time. It's I understand what the government's trying to do. They're trying to make things more affordable, but I don't think this is the right avenue. Rather than extending the loan for more years, my recommendation, if you're trying to save money, is negotiate with the seller, see if they can buy down the current rate, see if they can pay for closing costs. Um, I mean, the likelihood that someone's going to stay in a house for 50 years is not very high. And, again, banks aren't foolish. They know that most people will move every 5 to 7 years. And if you get a 50-year mortgage and then you decide to move within that 5 to 7 year period, you basically have paid interest more or less for that period of time, and haven't really brought down that principal very much.
I would say in that case, it doesn't even sound that much better than renting. I mean, if you're not building equity,
Oh
you're
no, no.
still in
I
debt.
mean, that's a very good point. It's a
Yeah,
very good point. No, again, my personal position, 50-year mortgage is not a good product. I think there are better products out there um, if you're trying to reduce your payment. Now, one thing you could do, and what savvy investors do, is you can take out a 50-year mortgage if it's at a lower rate, and then pay down the principal more quickly. And that's not really saving you any money on a monthly basis, but it is a technique that many, again, savvy investors and savvy buyers will do. They'll take out arms, or maybe even interest only mortgages, and then pay down the higher amounts of principal every month.
so what's an interest-only mortgage? I don't think I've heard of that before.
Yeah, I mean they're out there. They were very popular back in the 2008, 2009 time frame. So an interest only mortgage is just that. You're not paying down any principal. You're just making payments of interest to the bank. That's it. There is no reduction of principal. Now the gamble there is that the property is going to appreciate quite a bit over a period of time. So you're just making interest payments, and you're hoping that the property, again, like I said, appreciates. Now, what happened in 2008 and 2009, part of that financial crisis, where a lot of these loans were done back in 2005, 2004, when there was a lot of appreciation. People were buying larger homes. You can imagine you can buy a much larger home if you're just making interest only payments, not any principal payments. And then all of a sudden the market crashed. They didn't have any equity in it because they hadn't been paying down the loan at all. And then they were upside down or underwater in the property. They owed more on the property than the property was worth. So that's the danger of an interest only mortgage. But like I said, a savvy investor, a savvy buyer will take out that interest only mortgage and then pay down the principal more quickly, or put more money towards the principal to get it down more quickly.
I see. Yeah, so it sounds like if you're buying, you have a lot of different options. Potentially a new one, the 50-year mortgage. I just learned about the interest-only mortgage. I had not heard of that before. And we've also got our traditional 15 and 30-year mortgages that we've had for a long time. But it does sound a little bit complicated. So if I'm a buyer and I have more questions, where should I go to get some guidance on this sort of thing?
You should definitely give us a call. You can call me on my cell, 614-596-2934. You can also visit our website, vansteinpartners.com. There are many, many lending products out there. It's just about getting the right product for the specific buyer and what your needs are. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of products out there. If you go to Chase, Chase will sell you their product. If you go to Huntington, Huntington will sell you their product. But you just know that there are lots of options out there other than just a standard 30-year mortgage.
I see. Well, on one hand, I think one thing that makes me a little bit excited about the 50-year mortgage is that it might make more competition in the buyer's market or for the seller's market. So it might spur more innovation in the real estate space, which might make things easier for buyers and or sellers. So some new things on the horizon. Again, if you have any questions, then give Marc a call because he's been in the real estate space for how long again?
Over 20 years now.
I see. So sounds like he knows what he's talking about. All right, Mark. Well, thanks for the tips here, and we will be back again soon.
Thanks, Devin.